We continue now at the top of Daf Tzadi Zayin Amar Aleph and Mesechet Kesubos. This is Kesuvos Daf 97a. And the previous Amud, the Gemara was discussing what happens if a wife, she sells the property of her late husband either for the purpose of getting mizonos, getting sustenance, or she sells it for the purpose of collecting her ksuba. So the Gemara asked over there was a machlokas, should she be identifying every single time she sells in the contract? Should it say that I'm selling specifically for mizonos, I'm selling specifically for the ksuba, or on the contrary, maybe she's better off not identifying exactly what she is selling for. And the Gemara now says that according to Rabbi Yossi, it could really be that really the Yisomim, they have the upper hand. If the Yisomim would claim, let's say, that they already gave her mizonos, she would have to prove otherwise. And really, naturally, you would say if they have the upper hand, really anytime she sells property, she should identify in the contract for what purpose. Otherwise, they'll be able to use their upper hand. They'll be able to claim, let's say, that everything she sold was for the ksuba, and then when she asks for mizonos, they'll say they already gave the mizonos, so it's better to identify very clearly. Nevertheless, Rabbi Yossi says, no, it's not better for her to identify clearly, and it's similar to a situation of a shchiv meira. Let's say you have somebody on his deathbed, and he says, give the following property to Ploni, who I owe money to, who's my balchov. So there, the person who's collecting also, he can choose what he wants. In b'matana nolan, he can choose to take it for his chov, or he could say, no, I'm just taking it as a gift, because the person said tanu, and it's his choice. Lokach yafa kocho, because, and that actually increases his strength. So Rashi over here says, Im notlam matana lokach kocho yafe, he has greater strength, meaning, let's say he says, sheyuchal litrof lekuchos al hachov, v'lo yuchal litrof al matana. If somebody says, if the Baal Chov says, I'm taking it as collecting my debt, I'm not taking it as a gift, then he can even get that property, let's say later, after the person dies and he's collecting the property, he can get it from the chasim meshubadim, he can get it from lekuchos, from people who purchased the property from the shchiv meira. But if it's a matana, he can't get it from lekuchos. So therefore, that's the idea of kach yafe. It's better when he has that option to go both ways. So avzu, so too over here in this case, al hamizonos lutucha litrof lekuchos ve'al ksuba titrof osam. Like we said on the previous summit, if it's mizonos, if she identifies that she's collecting mizonos, so then she can't go to lekuchos. But if she's trying to collect for the ksuba, she could collect from the lekuchos, and so therefore it's better that she does not identify exactly what she has sold off the property and what she's already collected, because then she can decide later and she'll maybe be able to collect from lekuchos if need be. Now there was a downside over here though, because if she doesn't identify, what if the Yisomim start making claims against her? Don't they have the upper hand? And that's what Rashi answers here. Now if you're worried about the Yisomim, because maybe they'll claim that everything was for the ksuba, you already got your ksuba, and then later they'll also deny the mizonos. That's not a problem, says Rashi. She can always get edim, and the edim will know exactly why she sold it. She sold it from mizonos. And if need be, so yavo v'ya'idu, so she'll bring those edim and they'll testify. And that which was sold for the ksuba, that she won't let it be known that she sold for the ksuba, because that way she, let's say, later wants to collect the ksuba, she'll be able to collect even from the lekuchos. So there is a way around that issue. So that could be, that's why Rabbi Yossi says she should not specify in the sale exactly what she's selling for, because it gives her an advantage similar to the situation of the case of the shchimera, where again, if it's not specified, the Baal Chov can have this certain advantage deciding how he is collecting. And the Gemara continues, Keitzad mocheres, how exactly does she sell this property? If she's selling the property of her late husband for the ksuba, for the mizonos, what exactly is the process? Amar Rabbi Daniel bar Rav Katina, Amar Rav Huna, Rav Daniel bar Rav Katina says, that Rav Huna says, mocheres achas l'shnei masar chodesh. What she does is, she sells the property enough to cover her, to sustain her for 12 months. Rashi over here says, mocheres l'shnei masar chodesh kedei mizonos shel shana timkor yachad. She can sell the amount of property that will cover her for an entire year of sustenance. But then what happens is that the purchaser, so again, he is the one giving her the money that will sustain her, so he just does that once every 30 days. He doesn't give her all of the money, he just does it once every 30 days. Rashi explains, he doesn't give her all the money at once. What he does is, he gives her the amount of money month by month. Because the idea is, let's say she ends up getting remarried, because really she's entitled to mizonos only until she becomes married. Once she's married, she's not entitled to the mizonos. So therefore, what ends up happening is she sells the property, and he doesn't pay her all at once. He gives her the mizonos month by month, but let's say she gets married, now she's not entitled to mizonos anymore. So then the rest of the money that is owed is going to go to the yarshim. And the Gemara continues, Rav Yehuda Amar, and Rav Yehuda says, Mocheres l'shisha chadashim, not for a full year, she should sell for 6 months worth, but the same idea. And the purchaser will support her once every 30 days, meaning month by month. Tanya Kavase de Rav Huna, we have a brisa that supports Rav Huna, Mocheres l'shnei masar chodesh, v'lokeach mefarnis achas l'shloshim yom, she sells for 12 months, and the purchaser supports her every 30 days, every month. Tanya Kavase de Rav Yehuda, we have a brisa like Rav Yehuda, Mocheres l'shisha chadashim, she sells for 6 months, v'lokeach mefarnis achas l'shloshim yom, and the lokeach supports her once for every 30 days, meaning every 30 days again gives her a payment. Amar Ameimar says, Hilchas HaMocheres l'shisha chadashim, the halach is she sells for 6 months, v'lokeach mefarnis achas l'shloshim yom, and the lokeach is mefarnis her once every 30 days. Amar le Rav Ashi li Ameimar, so Rav Ashi said to Ameimar, again Ameimar is paskening the 6 months, so he said to Ameimar, de Rav Huna mai, so what about what Rav Huna said? Rav Huna said it's for shnei masar chodesh, it's for a year. Amar le, he said back to him, lo shmieli, I didn't hear that. Kalomar, and that was as if to say, he meant to say, lo svirle, I do not hold like that. And the Gemara continues, Bo minei me Rav Sheshes. They asked Rav Sheshes the following question. Mocheres lemizonos ma'u shetachzor betitrof l'chsuba. Let's say you have a woman, she sells her late husband's property, sells it for the purpose of mizonos, of sustaining herself, and now she wants to collect the ksuba. Can she go to that same purchaser and collect that land now for the ksuba? Because you can go in nechasim mishubadim, you can collect nechasim mishubadim for the ksuba. So the same exact person she sold to, she'll now take from that individual. Is that allowed? So kami boy lehu b'de Rav Yosef. The Gemara explains this question really is a question with regards to what Rav Yosef said. The Amar Rav Yosef, because Rav Yosef said, "Our melasa de zavin achrayus ayasmi." So Rav Yosef said, let's say a widow, like our case, let's say a widow sells the property. So who exactly is providing the guarantee to the purchaser? Who's going to reimburse the purchaser if that sale ends up, if the land gets taken away from them, if something goes wrong with the sale? So Rav Yosef says that guarantee, that achrayus is on the Yisomim. The Yisomim are going to have to take care of it. Ubeidina de zavin, and if a bezdin, also same thing. If they sell achrayus ayasmi, the achrayus is going to go on the Yisomim. The Yisomim are going to cover that, and they're going to guarantee the sale for the buyer. And so now the Gemara explains. So now what is the halacha in this situation? That's how it will relate here when she sells for mizonos. Can she go and take it away from the purchaser? So kevan the achrayus ayasmi, you could say since the achrayus is on the Yisomim, they're going to take care of this. So tarfa, so therefore she can collect, she can take. Odilmor, maybe motzi amri lo, they can say to her, nehi de achrayus di alma lo kabil telach. Granted that you didn't accept, meaning if the achrayus is on the Yisomim, it's not her problem. She doesn't guarantee the sale. The Yisomim guarantee the sale. So she sold it, and then she sold it to them, and she took her mizonos. She didn't never guarantee the sale to the lokeach, so she can take it away when she wants to collect her ksuba. And that's why he's saying, or no, maybe they say to her, we understand that you didn't personally accept achrayus, and the Yisomim are the ones. The achrayus de alma lo kabil telach. You didn't. Let's say some other creditor took away the land from us. You didn't accept that achrayus, but achrayus de nafshach milo kibule kibilt. But didn't you accept the achrayus of your own sale? You're the seller. You sold it to us. Now you can take it away. You should at least give us a guarantee that you won't take it away. And so that is the question over here. So we understand that the achrayus is not on her, it's on the Yisomim, but still the question is, does she at least provide a guarantee in terms of what she sold? And the Gemara continues, Amar Lei, so he said back to him, he answered the question as follows, Tani Sua, we learned the answer because it says, Mocheres v'holeches ad kidei ksubasa. It says that in general, let's say you have a widow who is selling property and she needs mizonos, so she can sell, but she needs to allow land to remain that will cover the ksuba, because she can't sell land where now there will be no land left for the ksuba. V'samach lashatig v'ksubasa min ashar, and she'll rely on this, that she'll collect her ksuba from what is remaining. She shouldn't sell everything, she should leave enough to cover her ksuba. So the Gemara says, Shma mina shaira in, lo shaira lo. So it says, you see from here that if she leaves over property, that's what she can collect, but she can't go collect from people that she sold to. It seems like she's only allowed to collect if she leaves over. But the Gemara says, no, v'dilma eitza tova kamash malan, but maybe not. Maybe we're just giving her good advice that she should leave over some property. The lo likru la hadranisa, because we don't want people to refer to her as somebody who goes back, who reneges, goes back on the sale. That's not a good reputation. Better to leave some property than to sell property to a purchaser and then try to take it back. But the Gemara says, no, it doesn't seem like an Eitza Tova just from the phrasing of that brisa, because in Kain Lisni, Gova Ksubasa min Ashar, because if that was the case, it should have said that she collects the Ksuba from what remains. My Samachla, what does it mean that she relies on this? Shma Mino, you see that language indicates Shaira in, that if she leaves over, then fine, Lo Shaira Lo, but if she doesn't leave over, she cannot collect from the Lokeach. And the Gemara continues, they had the following question. Let's say a person sells property, and then in the end he doesn't need the money for what he thought he needed the money for. He was selling for a specific purpose that no longer was necessary. So hadri zvine or lo hadri zvine. So is he allowed to renege on the sale and say, look, I was really selling under the assumption that I was going to do the following with the money. Now I'm not doing it. Can he go back or can he not go back? And the Gemara says, Tashma, come in here, the following proof, Tahu Gavra the Zavin Aro, Rav Papa. There was a person who sold land to Rav Papa. He needed the money because he was going to buy Torah, he was going to buy oxen. In the end, he didn't need those. And Rav Papa ended up returning to him his land. And so it seems to be from here that you can go back on a sale if it turns out you don't need the money for what you thought. And the Gemara responds, Rav Papa lifnim mishuras hadin hudav. Rav Papa might have been acting lifnim mishuras hadin. He was going beyond the letter of the law, but maybe really Rav Papa didn't have to return the land. It was just something that he wanted to do. And the Gemara continues, Tashma, coming here, another proof, Tahu Betsurta Dahava ben Ardoi. There was a drought in Ardoi, Zavninu Kuliyal Malafat Nayu, and so everybody sold their mansions in order to be able to provide for themselves during the drought. Lasofa Suchiti, in the end, the wheat arrived, and it turned out it was really not necessary for them to sell the mansions. Amar Lu Rav Nachman said to them, Dinohu Dahadri Apadni Lamarayu. The real halacha is the mansions should go back to their original owners, because again, it turned out it was not necessary. But the Gemara says, Hasam Nami, no, over there also we can respond. Zvini betos have. There it's different. It's not a situation where the circumstances changed later on. There it would actually be called a mekachtos. It was a sale that they did by mistake. The Igloi milsa da arba bakule havakaima, because it had turned out that the ship was actually en route. It was already bringing the wheat, and had they known that at the time of the sale, they never would have sold. And the word biikule means to say that the boat was already in the bays of the river. That's the idea. Again, it was en route, and therefore that's considered a situation of a zvine betos, like a mekachtos. And the Gemara continues, Yachi, if so, Hainu do Amar le Rami bar Shmuel Rav Nachman. That's what Rami bar Shmuel said to Rav Nachman. Imkei nimtzis machshilan la'asid lavu. If that's the case, you're actually going to cause a stumbling block. And Rami bar Shmuel meant to say that how could it be that these sales, that we can go back on the sales and the mansions go back to the original owner? No one's ever going to want to buy property anymore because they're going to be afraid that the sale will end up being reversed. And what was the response? Amar Le, so Rav Nachman said back to him, no, atu kol yoma b'tzur tashchicha. Do you think it's so common to have a drought? In other words, again, this only happens when in this particular scenario, but this is not something that is so common. But the response back was, Amar Le, he said to him, in yes, b'tzur b'nahardoi, mishkach shchicha. Actually, a drought in the Hardoi is common. This is something common, and therefore this could cause a stumbling block in the future. And the Gemara says, that if a person sells but ends up not needing the money, he could go back on the sale. And the Gemara continues with the Mishnah, Almana bein min ha'erisin. Let's say you have an Almana, whether she's just betrothed, the bein hanesuin, or whether she's married, mocheres shelo bebezin. So she can sell even the property, again, of her late husband. She can sell even without the authority of Bezin backing her up. She can sell on her own. Rashi over here says, bein min ha'erisin, whether she's just from erisin, she'ein la mizonos. She's not entitled to mizonos. She's not selling from mizonos. Umocheres l'ksuba. Even if she's just selling for her ksuba, she's allowed to sell not in Bezin. If you're selling from mizonos, it makes sense that you can sell not for Bezdin because you don't want to go through the whole process of Bezdin. You need the mizonos right now. That's something that's needed at the moment. But the chiddush over here, the Mishnah is saying, is even by Erisin, where she's selling for the ksuba, where really maybe we could have a time delay and we could have Bezdin be involved. No, still, she can sell it without Bezdin. And of course, by Nesuin. Bein min Nesuin, she mocheres l'mizonos, mocheres shelo bezdin. There, if she's selling for mizonos purposes, there, of course, certainly she could sell without Bezdin because, again, in that situation, there cannot be a delay. And the Mishnah continues, Rabbi Shimon Rabbi Shimon says, min ha-nisuin. If it is nisuin, mocheres shelo bebezdin, then she could sell not in Bezdin, because again, there she needs mizonos. But mino erisin, but if it's a situation of erisin where it's only for the ksuba, lo timkor ela bebezdin, so she should only sell in Bezdin. There's no rush over here. She's just collecting the ksuba. She needs Bezdin. Mipnei she'ein la mizonos, because as we said, in this case, she's not collecting mizonos. V'chol she'ein la mizonos, lo timkor ela bebezdin. Any situation, according to Rabbi Shimon, where she's not entitled to mizonos, so she is only allowed to sell in Bezdin. Rashi over here says, she can't sit there and fast and not have any food until Bezdin is ready to take the case. But when it comes to Erisin, where she's only selling for the ksuba, lo timkor ela bebezdin, then she can only sell in Bezdin. Again, that's Rabbi Shimon's idea, that if it's a situation where it's not mizonos, then she must sell in Bezdin. The Tanna Kama said, no, in all situations, she can sell not in Bezdin. And the Gemara says, B'shlamim in Nisuin mishum mizone. I understand by Nisuin, why is she allowed to sell and not be in Bezdin? It's because of the mizonos. And we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Tzadi Zayin Amud Beis.